All right. I think we're going live here. I'm always, I'm sometimes having to fight against the technology here, and it's not always working with me. But welcome, everyone, to our Thursday masterclass, all about how to improve your marriage, how to fix all those little problems that are getting in the way, and help you to have a loving, lasting relationship. My name is Mark Johnston, the international marriage coach here with High Thrive Coaching, and today we're going to talk all about uncovering, understanding. We're going to get all in there. So, if you've attended some of our webinars in the past few weeks, we have introduced some things, related to what we call our restoration equation. These are the steps in a specific formula on how to restore your marriage back to the way it was, or to make it even better. And many times missing just one of these pieces in this equation is what really prevents progress. So as we move forward with these master classes each week, we want to emphasize certain parts of this equation. Specifically, here in the Thriving Marriage Facebook group, giving you an introduction and an overview of some of the things that you would really need to hone in on to restore your marriage. This week, we're just going into one of the subtopics surrounding that first step in our equation. It's all about understanding. Now, why is this so important? Why is this step first? Why is it so important? We're going to talk about that, and then a little bit more about how you can help your spouse understand you. But understanding, I emphasize understanding a lot when I work with people, when I work with my clients, because it's so vitally important to restoring a marriage. If you can understand your spouse much better, it's so much easier to have patience, to help communication go more smoothly. You're able to come at a situation with much more information and a much more level head if you actually understand what the motivations are of your spouse, what your husband or wife is really thinking about, what their intentions are. And just as important, equally as important, is the reverse of that, helping your husband or wife understand you. I work with so many people who want to fix their marriage, and one of the big obstacles is they have their husband or wife and they say, you know what, I just don't believe your intentions here. I don't believe that changes are going to last, or I can't trust you. I can't, I'm not going to work on this with you because, you're such a, whatever. And when I talk with these fine men and women, they tell me, I don't understand it. I want to work with my husband or my wife. I want to help them out. I want to help support them. I want them to feel love for me. And for some reason, it's not connecting. And this is exactly where we come at today, is uncovering a lot of this, understanding problems and helping your husband or your wife understand you so much better, so that there can be a lot more of that patience, that willingness to work on things, that trust that things could be better. So first, I want to get into a couple common mistakes, a couple common myths surrounding this step here. So often I see people falling into one of these two traps. They either assume that their partner understands them, their motivations and intentions, or that you understand theirs, or with that assumption, people say, okay, I'm going to make my partner understand how I feel. But let's just go with the assumptions. So what happens there? What does that look like? Some of the symptoms of this, I see people start to shut down. They get quiet, or they ignore problems. They assume the worst. And this goes right back to the example I was talking about. where when I'm working with a client, their husband or their wife, they come to them and they say, you know what, I just can't trust you. You're going to hurt me. You're going to do this, this, this. They're assuming the worst. And similarly, I answered several questions from my clients earlier today, and they're asking me, what is going on? My husband or my wife, they ignored my text message. What do I do about that? Should I just let them have it, let them know how upset I am, or should I just, take that sucker punch? And it's really not so binary as that. This is going into that, assuming that you know exactly what's going on, assuming that your partner intentionally ignores you and that they're trying to hurt you, and so that you have to just take this blow. And that's just not the case. The other side of this, like I said, where people try to make their partner understand how they feel. When this happens, what I tend to see is someone lashing out. They're going to punish their partner. Well, my wife is doing this, so I'm not going to talk to them anymore. Or gets into those insults. You're doing this. You're such a horrible dad. You're such a horrible husband. Whatever. You're such a lazy whatever. Or doing other harmful activities, like taking the kids away, or maybe even there is actual ignoring or some of those other things, because you want to punish the other person, make them understand how you feel. Either one of those assumptions or the lashing out and forcing someone to understand you is going to end up in disaster. It's either going to kick the problem down the road a little bit further and not do anything with it, or it's going to blow up in your face. And each one of these is absolutely just really damaging. So much so that, when I was, preparing the live stream for today, the class for today, it reminded me very much of, what are commonly called cognitive distortions in the psychology field. So in case you're not familiar, cognitive distortions are just commonly accepted mistakes in thinking. The people, the psychological communities come together and says, hey, these are the common ways that people have erroneous thinking. And so they labeled them. They said, this is the wrong way to think. And in this case, we have several examples here. We have filtering, where we're only seeing, the negative parts of what's going on. We have mind reading, where we think that we know what the other person is thinking, or we know what their motivation is, or their intentions are, or even where they think that they can read your mind. We have just jumping to conclusions when we have just a little bit of information and we assume the worst. We have personalization, like thinking that, okay, even if your partner's having a bad day, even if they ignore something, in quotes, you think it's about you and it's not about something else. I could go on and on and on how each of these things are really just distortions in thinking. They're not really accurate. And, I don't want to pretend that I'm immune to this either. I can remember an example in my own marriage. So my wife, Jennifer, and I, we've been married for now 13 years, a little over 13 years. It's been a wonderful marriage. And I can remember, probably about halfway through, this is maybe like 6-7 years ago, I was working full time. We had just had another child. My wife was trying to earn some money as well. We were really busy. I think I was taking some extra classes on the side. It was a really busy time, and my wife and I can remember, we didn't really quite feel that close connection with each other. And, that happens sometimes. Where we came out of that is we actually came to each other. We talked about it. We said, you know what, I'm not feeling that so much of that love from you. And when we actually got to talking, we realized that each of us was really trying to do extra efforts to show that love for the other person. It's just, we weren't seeing it. We were making assumptions. We, for a long time, ignored that this was going on. You know, my wife, she did all sorts of things that were meant to be loving towards me, and I did the same thing for her. It's just we weren't on the same page with that. And after we got to talking about it, we fixed the problem. And this is where we get into the solution today, just the overview, the introduction to this idea. So what did my wife and I do? We started being very clear about our intentions, about our motivations. And we were very consistent with that communication. This is how you help your partner to understand, is through that consistency, through that clarity. After all, how is your husband, how's your wife going to understand that when you bring them, you know, some lunch, that is specifically because you love them and you want to connect with them? They might not recognize that. How are you going to recognize that, you know, maybe your husband's attempts at having some more physical intimacy with you is their attempt at feeling closer also emotionally, unless that was shared? Now, the thing here is, you know, I'm sure that you think that you're very clear. I'm sure that your partner thinks that they're very clear with their intentions as well. And if you're having lots of problems, I usually look at this first, are those intentions very clear? Because most of the time, they're just not. It's not very clear at all. Because the truth is, I would say 90% of the time, or even more, most husbands, most wives really have good intentions. You know, even if there's arguments, there's some good intention somewhere underneath that all. Whether they are, you know, wanting some respect, which is certainly a good intention, whether they're trying to help you understand their point of view, it's a good intention. And as you get down to these base level intentions, it becomes easier and easier to actually get to, you know, the point where you can move forward with each other. Now, there's plenty of exercises, plenty of things to do to really hit this home, from, you know, developing what I call home messages, to finding the patterns of miscommunication in your relationship, to breaking those patterns in order to really make those intentions hit home very soundly. Now, these sort of things, I'm going to be going over in depth this month. Heather and I, with the, you know, High Thrive Coaching, we have a monthly subscription service where we go in depth with exercises and instructions every month on very specific topics. So if you are interested in this, please let us know. We can talk to you personally about how to get a hold of this material. I'll also be posting a link in the comments section, so you can look through there after I'm done broadcasting here. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to talk with you, love to chat and see what we can do to help. With that, I hope that this helps you gain some understanding from your spouse in your marriage, because once again, this is a crucial first step into the road, you know, to get onto that road to having that happy, thriving marriage. So thanks for watching, and have a good day.